today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to master a track. So the track that I'm mastering is called Dip It. I made this track a couple months ago, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to master a track and what kind of goes into mastering. So let me just delete my master chain. So most tracks, or at least most songs that you will make, they're all going to be at 0 dB. So let me just set these back. So whenever you're making a track, the automatic default is just 0 dB for all the tracks. And I mean, that's cool, but if you're mastering a track, that's actually really bad, because if 0 dB is your maximum like red line, you do not cross that, then if you're mastering your track with everything at 0 dB, everything's just going to be crunching and your plugins are going to hate you. So what you want to do is just select all of your tracks by just hitting Control A and then turning them down so you have at least -6 dB of headroom. I'm just going to turn mine down to -12. And your plugins will thank you very much, and your mix will sound so much nicer. So, real quick, you do not need to have these specific plugins. You can do this with any plugins. You can literally, like, this is just a limiter. You can literally use Ableton's stock limiter. They have one right here. It's the same thing, it's just a limiter. A lot of people say, oh, you need to have the L1 limiter or whatever. It's just a limiter. It literally all it does is it just makes your track louder. So, it doesn't matter what you have. But obviously, if I'm gonna hit play, I have a crap ton of headroom, so I'm gonna bump up the gain just all the way. All right, like obviously you don't want to pin this because that sounds retarded and terrible, so don't do that. So I'm gonna say plus 10 dB. Obviously I'm not crunching my song, and there's still some kind of dynamic room, but it still is very loud. Actually, I might go 11. But that's just for when you're limiting. The first thing that you should do though on your chain is just grab an EQ, it doesn't matter what EQ, and just take out anything under 20 hertz. Cause I mean, a lot of you are probably saying, oh, that's where all the bass is, you know, don't take out that, it's the low end. You can't hear anything under 20 hertz. I mean, honestly, you could take anything like from 30 hertz and below, just strip it out, because there is no way you're going to be hearing under 30 hertz unless you have like the craziest festival rig. And even then, it's probably, you're just feeling at that point, like 30 hertz is really, really low. So I like to go even, just about 25 hertz. And this is just in case, like, say your samples or whatever, maybe they're peaking below 25 hertz, and then that's affecting the limiter. So the limiter is turning down stuff that's below 20 hertz, and then it'll just kind of mess up everything. So that's why you want to take that out. Next thing I do is I use Isotope Ozone 7. This is like my favorite plugin to use for mastering, because it's just an all-round decent plugin. I don't like to use their built-in limiter because I can't see what's happening. That's why I like to use the Pro L limiter, because it gives a nice visual of what's happening. But first thing I do is I change this to MS. This is for mid and then side, and I solo the mid. And first thing I do is I just take down middle, like just 500 frequency, down 0.5, and then I set this. I just pull these. Set this really wide, because everything has a frequency here. Everything does. So I just like to take out a little bit just to kind of even stuff out. And then next I go to side, I solo this. And this is basically just everything that's on the absolute side. So like no mono. Mono is just gone. So first thing I do is I set this to a high pass, and I just strip out any of that. So now this is what it sounds like. Already sounding quite a bit cleaner. Next thing I do is I open up the dynamics. It's just a multi-band compressor, and I hit learn, and then I just let the track play out. Now basically what just happened there was the computer went through and it listened to all the frequencies, and it made an educated decision on whether, you know, like where the bass is, where the mid is, and where the highs and whatever. So this is obviously, you don't have to stick to this. You can move around the knobs yourself. I like to do that. I just like to listen to the individual and kind of make my own decision. Alright, I think everything else is good there. And next thing you do is, and this is why it's really nice to limit your, or like turn down the tracks and then boost it back up later, is I have so much headroom now. Alright, so what I did there, and I apologize for the really low frame rates, my computer's kind of dying while it's recording, but basically what I did there was I went through and kind of just went to where the peaks were, and I turned down the threshold, and then I turned up the ratio for like each thing just to kind of go higher and higher and higher. But basically this helps just even everything out and give it like its own, you know, just space in the mix. This really helps when you're trying to like level stuff out. So obviously I don't want the bass crunching away at my track, so I turn up the ratio so that it's more aggressive. And then the mid doesn't really cover that many frequencies. It's actually pretty quiet, so that's why I turned down the threshold to kind of boost that. But yeah, just doing this will kind of help even everything out. Next thing I do is I drag in an imager, and I put that actually before my multiband, and then I hit learn again so that the computer can kind of figure out what's the best like situation here. So first thing I do is I just mono the bass completely. It's mono. You do not want it to be anything else but mono. And the reason for this is because obviously, and this is just for dubstep tracks. Obviously every genre is different, but everything just sounds a lot cleaner because the bass is just in pure center, not to the left, not to the right. And especially this works really well at like clubs and stuff. Say if it wasn't mono, maybe the left side of the audience might be getting a lot more bass than the right side. So just having it mono gives it just an even spread over just the entire track. And if I look at this little graph, I don't really want a lot of sounds to go past this. Obviously it can, and that's not bad, but just trying to stay mostly in the middle is kind of what you want to do. So I'm going to pull down kind of the width a little bit in the mid. And then the higher you get, the wider I like to spread it. So it's kind of like this is closer to mono and then this is really wide. I just like my tracks like that. Obviously everyone's different. I'm actually going to boost this. And then the very highs, I'm going to have you boosted. Alright, cool. And it's a pretty centered mix. I just like my mixes like that. Also, you can listen to your track in mono. A lot of people do this. They'll listen to their mix downs in mono and then figure out which specific sounds need to be. Like, you can go to specific bass and then kind of mono that sound out. But if you can hear everything in mono, then you're pretty much set. Yeah, that's all I do. I don't like to mess with this just because I don't like Isotope's built-in limiter. Obviously, it's totally fine. You can use it. I like to use the Pro L because I can see what it's doing. And now that I have mastered my track, I can see like the effect that's having, so I'm actually going to turn it down. See, now everything looks a lot fuller. It's all like, it all sounds way better than it did before. And there's a lot of other things that you can do. Like, some people will put on an OTT, it's right before ozone, and then they'll turn down the amount to like 15, maybe to add some sparkle or whatever. Obviously, I don't think that my track needs more OTT because it already has a lot, but that's just, it's stuff that you need to experiment like this. But this is the very basic, just what I do to master my tracks. This is usually just what I do. Sometimes I will add on other effects, but this is the very basic, and this is what I like to use. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you took something away from this. Obviously, this wasn't a super ultra complex thing, and I am in no way an expert at this, but this is just what I do to master my tracks, and it sounds pretty good. So, I just wanted to show you guys how I do it. So, if you guys didn't know, I have a Discord server set up. So, if you want to hang out and talk to me, I have that down in the description. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically kind of like Skype, except more of a community kind of formed thing. So yeah, if you guys want to come talk to me, there will be a link in the description below. So if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you want to see another topic covered, just comment down below and I'll be sure to cover it.